But Don, I am very thankful. Thanks for taking the time to spend to talk about how much you love me. No, I'm just kidding. No. The purpose of our conversation now is just to get a little bit more of your raw thoughts and feelings about what the engagement's been like so far. So, as a starting point, would you mind just sharing a little bit about Classic City? Yeah, what kind of dev agency it is, and that.
So Classic City is a web first digital marketing agency. So we specialize in working with small to medium sized businesses and helping them really grow their digital marketing strategy. We have a lot of partnerships that we like to work with. And in general, I have a group of people that we like to work together and we like adding new people to that team.
Love it. Love it. So there's a focus and an emphasis on the marketing side, but at the end of the day, you guys are digital first. So there's a kind of a
Absolutely.
software component to it too, and an agency model. Love it.
Mhm.
So what was it like, Don? There was a time before we worked together. So can you think back to that time? What was it like before we started working together? What were the type of finance professionals you had been working with? And how would you describe the value that you were receiving from them?
So before we started working with you, we didn't really we had an accountant, and we had payroll, but we didn't really have somebody who was a go-between. We had our leadership team kind of trying to piecemeal together numbers that we can pull from QuickBooks and we can pull from time tracking and really try to make logical sense out of it. And I think when we reached out to you, the biggest thing that we were looking for was some clarity and cohesion in those numbers. We couldn't really figure out what we were doing and why it was working. And so we really needed somebody to look at our numbers and say, this is what's working, this is what's working now, but might not be working, and this is where you should aim to go in the future. Because while we had some emotional goals of where we wanted to go, we didn't have anything tangible to look at that was going to tell us that, yes, you can
Yeah.
hit this
Yeah.
goal.
So you already had some help at the time, but like you said, there wasn't necessarily the cohesion, there wasn't that connectedness. It was a lot of being able to execute, but again, not pulling it all together from the finance side of the house. So ultimately, I mean, you were a pretty pivotal part of making the decision to bring us on. What was it about us that made you decide, yeah, this is not only the right company for us, but also the right time for us to engage?
Well, ahead of the new year felt like the right time. So it felt like we had kind of hit a now or never point where if we're going to do this, we needed about 3 months of lead time before we could get going. So um, with that October 1st deadline in sight, essentially, we really wanted to make sure that um, we could get get that off and running and then start rolling. And so you were like, well, we can get started next week if you can turn it around. And so that kind of gave us you gave us the proposal that made sense. And one of the things that really helped me was to see somebody else kind of take the wheel in it. Because for so long, like we had been trying to drive it and we were not in a position to drive it. And so trying to make sure that we put somebody in place that could, in fact, take our information, take all the data that we've been pulling, and then make sense out of it ahead of the new year was really like the timeline reasoning. And then working with you, the reason that we wanted to do that was mainly because we felt like um, there was a match in personality. Like we just felt like you got us. We felt like you understood our needs, our company, where we wanted to go, where we were now, and you had that understanding of um, viewing us for what we are, not who we wanted to be, but who we could be. And so you gave us kind of the benefit of the doubt when you were like, "Oh, well, this is where your company sits financially, technically, but you really need to look at how you got there." And so that really was very insightful in helping us to make those
I
final
love it. I love it.
decisions.
Yeah. So I think definitely the culture fit or the values fit that was a big thing. If I'm being honest, like that was a big thing on my side too. That's actually one of the things that I suss out during the our vetting process and our qualification process is like will we be a good fit on a core values standpoint? So definitely resonate with that. You were talking about other ways that we resonated. We also we share a sense of humor, so that helps.
Yes. Yeah, it was very important to me that we find people that we work with
Yeah.
that get us, and that means that they understand our sense of
That is
humor.
important.
Mainly
Yeah,
my
I
sense of humor.
totally get that. So, Don, having now worked together for the better part of about 2 months, how would you describe the value that you've received? Like, what is it about our engagement that's really got you feeling excited?
You you not only provide us with like the financial support, you provide us with like the leadership support that we need. You provided us with a lot of just like external resources, like just the like, hey, this book really helped me. Like that was huge. That's huge for me. That's huge for me to be able to, speak to our other leadership members or like and talk to our team members and even say like, hey, this is a book that might benefit you as well. And this having somebody who's not only providing us with like direction, but is also it's like a it's a two-way street. Like we're working together. We're helping each other out. So it's not just you're not just providing us with the financial um, like support that we came to you for. You're providing us with like a lot of leadership and also the external perspective that you bring in. We didn't we have always been a team that has brought in other people that who we know. Like we don't go out and just hire people. Like that's never been our we vet people for years before we actually work with them. And so for us to be able to bring somebody on so quickly, feel so sure and kind of and feel so you know, immediately supported, it was a
Hmm.
big thing for us.
That is really sweet. Do you think, as you think through, especially our budgeting and planning conversations, and even some of those like leadership conversations, do you remember specific like light bulb moments? And were there, things specific to your business that you felt like were through the course of our engagement, they just kind of like turned on. It was like, I had an aha moment there.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is helping us to identify the type of partners that are truly good partners for us, that are truly good relationships, and helping us to not just, lean into clients that we've just had for a while because we've had them for a while. Really, just say, be able to say, yes, they were good. Yes, they did fit when we were smaller, but now we're really growing and putting the time and resources into those clients at that lower hourly rate that they have been. We've allowed them to coast along with for so long. It it really waters down our value because we still feel so responsive and we feel so like committed to them since they've been with us for so long, but we have grown and you've helped us kind of acknowledge that growth and then find a path to continue that growth as well.
It's awesome. Um, any other? So you're just then talking about kind of customer, clarifying your ideal client, and maybe it is continuing on with the people we've already had, but maybe it also is dropping some of the people who just they're really just not a good fit. Are there other kind of like light bulb moments, things that kind of turned on or clicked for you as we've had time to budget and plan for 2024 together?
I think getting your perspective as far as like who should be making budgeting decisions has been really beneficial. It's gotten everybody who needs to be involved, whereas before the decisions were strictly from like, Chris and myself, and we just kind of figured it out. And now we have our full leadership team like saying like trying to own it, which has opened up a new role that we now need to fill, which we have felt like we've needed, but we haven't been able to identify what that role would do or what goals we were trying to have in that role. And so when talking with you, it's really helped us to say, okay, not only is this a person that we need this person to do X, Y, and Z, and we need to come up with a full plan, which we weren't able to really even see a need for before we started working with you.
I love that, love that. Okay, so last question here is, if somebody is on the fence, they're another dev agency, somebody similar in your position, they're on the fence though about making a decision to work with us. What would be some things you would say from your experience, your specific experience these last 2 months? What would you tell that person on the fence?
I don't I don't know because I don't know. Um I feel like we jumped in so quickly, like we were never on the fence. We were just like, "Oh, that looks like where we there was no fence. There
Yeah.
was a gate." And so it was just sort of like we were funneled into this. So I think if somebody comes, is it somebody's like in unsure of like where their next path is, I definitely think this is a good path to go down because, you gave us, you know, I think part of the thing that made it easier for us is that there was no like long term
Mm,
commitment. Like we could trial you out and see if we liked you. We thought we liked you. We were pretty sure we liked you. But in our minds, it wasn't, we aren't hiring somebody. We aren't making a full time commitment. We're making a commitment to right now. And then as long as you can help us gain, like, as long as you justified your value to us very quickly, and in that justifying your value to us, it made us be able to not see um like where we would go next without working with you. So it gave us a lot of clarity, like both internally and then also like for our grander picture of where we want to go. So yeah, so I think if somebody's on the fence that they aren't sure what to do, they should just try it out and then see what happens. And as long as, you know, I think it's as long as you help us gain twice what you're worth, like, then we're good. That's all we were looking for.
love
So
it. I love it. Well, Don, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your feedback here. This has been very helpful.